This is a safety squat bar, also known as a safety bar. This is the do-it-yourself variety that we made. We made it for one of our members, Judy. We now call it the Judy bar or the J bar. This large behemoth behind me is also a safety bar or a safety squat bar, but it is exactly that. It is large. It is 70 pounds, and although it'll vary by manufacturer, a lot of safety bars tend to be on the heavier side, and that can be a little bit of a problem because it's entirely possible that if you have someone who would benefit from using a safety bar, it's entirely possible that that same person may not be able to start off with a 70-pound empty bar. So we made this bar, and we're going to cover how to make it. It's not going to be the world's greatest DIY video because we're not going to go through the whole process of, we're not going to actually make it on camera, but I'm going to talk about how it's made. It's 10 pounds. It's also a little bit narrower, and that can also be nice because one of the issues that we had with this was that for some people it was a little bit wide in the shoulders, and that made it uncomfortable. So this is a little bit narrower, and that was a benefit. Let's cover some basic dimensions and materials. This is all going to be approximate, and that's pretty much exactly how we made it. We used some trial and error. We played around with it a little bit before we glued it together. But to start, this is Schedule 40, 1.5-inch diameter PVC pipe. The total width from the part that's sticking into this joint to the part over here is about 54 inches. But broken up, this part here, from here to here, ends up being about a 21-inch piece. The part in between these two T-joints right here is about 8 inches. Again, I did this a long time ago, so this is approximate. So if you're doing this, you're going to have some trial and error here. And then we've got another 21-inch part right here. The handles, and we just kind of chose this because it worked out pretty well, these are about 14 inches right here. This length down here, this is 16 inches. I do not remember why I chose 16 inches. I just know that it worked out pretty well. And then the part down here is 8 inches. This is this is probably about 52 inches long, something like that. This is just 1/2-inch square tubing, metal square tubing, because Judy very quickly got to the point where she was too strong for this thing to just be made out of PVC pipe. So we added this metal beam across the top for a couple bucks, and that significantly increased the strength of it. Judy, by the way, is not the only one who has used it. She's just the one that we originally made it for. To attach that, we used some worm gears, these worm gear hose clamps here. I don't remember what size they are. Suffice to say, they've got to be big enough to go around the whole thing. And then we just applied some pipe insulation around the top here, and I think originally we had some here as well, but we decided to go with some towels as well. So that kind of covers the dimensions and the materials. As far as how to attach this together, you can find this on YouTube videos, but really it's not complicated. You just need to get some PVC cement. Remember, you're not trying to make a watertight application here. You don't need to go out and get the PVC cement and PVC primer. Just the PVC cement will do, and it's got instructions on how to use it. Again, it's not very difficult. You can cut this stuff, you can cut the PVC pipe with a saw pretty easily. On the inside of the PVC cement container, when you unscrew the lid, it's got an applicator attached to the lid. It looks like the world's largest Q-tip, and that's how you apply it. You want to apply it both to the inside of the joint, and we'll talk about the joints here, and then you also want to attach it to the PVC pipe as well. You also want to apply it to the PVC pipe as well. So you want to apply the glue or the cement to the inside of the joint as well as to the outside of the PVC pipe. And then you kind of screw them together, you kind of push them together and hold them. Like I said, there's instructions on the PVC cement container. Trust the instructions, don't trust me. As far as the joints that we've got here, so here you've got a 90-degree elbow over here. Here you've got, and you're going to need 2 of those, excuse me, you're going to need 4 of those. You've got one down there, one here, one over here, and one down there. And then as far as the T-joint here, you're going to need 2 of those. Now you'll notice, and I don't know how well you can see this on video, but a safety bar is kind of counterbalanced. You notice that there's an angle between where that vertical piece comes down and where the handles come out. We just played around with this a little bit. I think it's around 20 degrees, but you can play around with it a little bit before you actually glue it together, and you can get a pretty good idea. For Judy, this was very beneficial because she has neuropathy in her feet. She has a couple other things going on. Judy's just flat out awesome. And for her, it was really useful to have a bar that if she needed to let go of the bar for some reason, I'm usually very carefully spotting her, but if she needed to let go of the bar for some reason, she could. And because it's counterbalanced, because of the way the weight sits relative to the handles, the bar will not fall off of her. She also always box squats. We always have her squat inside the cage. But the counterbalancing was a very nice feature of the safety bar. Other people sometimes may use safety bars because they don't have the shoulder flexibility. They may have some messed up, some injured, shoulder history type of thing going on where they can't get their hands back into position to do a squat, whether that be a low bar or even a high bar squat. So safety bars can be useful for a couple of reasons there. Let's talk briefly about the collars. 1.5-inch PVC pipe is going to be a little bit smaller in diameter than your typical barbell. So what we use, and this works out real well, is we use the Rogue axle collar because that's actually designed to pretty much go on pipe anyway. If you try to use regular collars, well, let's get rid of this clamp here for a second. We'll come back to this. If you try to use a collar like this, it's going to be too loose. And hopefully you can see this on video, but if I try to put this on here, you notice how it just kind of slides around. The axle collar fits tighter because it's designed, this collar over here is designed for a smaller bar. You can also just use a 2-inch spring clamp. These are readily available also, Home Depot, Lowe's, and this will actually do just fine. That'll keep the weights on the bar. But just bear in mind that you're not going to be able to use regular collars because it will move around on you a little bit. So that's pretty much it. Again, not the greatest DIY video, but this was asked about in a couple different places, so I wanted to make a quick video kind of describing how to build this and what you might need it for. Again, the weight ended up being about 10 pounds, which is real great for a starting weight. Judy has since got strong enough. This is held, by the way, up to about 100 pounds, and Judy's gotten to the point where she's strong enough that I need to build a new one that is significantly stronger, so which is also pretty awesome. We hope this was useful, and if it was, please let us know. Hit the subscribe button or leave a comment below or give us a thumbs up. We will see you next time, and as always, we hope this helps you get stronger and live better.